Hello, everyone. I'm here joined by Dr. Frank Buckler, a good friend, a colleague for the last, I don't know how many years we've been together in this industry. It's been an exciting industry, but today I have the honor of interviewing / having a great conversation with Dr. Frank Buckler, who is on the other side. He is the great author of the book called The Top 5%. So he has been extremely influential in the research world. He's a 6-time winner of presentations at SOMAR, a strong individual in the industry. So I'm extremely excited to exchange notes. We've been talking a lot about in the past about offline, about a lot of discussions about what's going on with the industry, how it's rolling, what's happening, and we thought we'd just put this podcast together. So welcome on board.
Thank you for having me, Partik.
It's a pleasure. It's absolutely a pleasure. So let's not indulge in any more talks, but get into the conversation of this wonderful book that you've created. And I thought maybe we'll start with the first question, which relates to your book on the opposite side by saying, why do you personally think that 95% of startups or companies that are in the market at the moment are suffering?
So this question is answers if we take a deeper lens, where this 5% of growth come from, and 5% of companies really growing sustainably and others not really. And this number actually you find in many other success factors. So 5% of product launches survived over 2 years, according to Niels, or just 5% of creative campaigns are really driving impact. That's a number from System 1 where they see a huge difference between the typical ROI of a creative, and there are a few that really break the records, and it's kind of a 5x of ROI what they achieve. And when you ask it, why is just a small number crushing it in all those domains, it leads you to one conclusion, that it's not enough to go after textbook knowledge, right?
Mhm.
It's not enough to hire someone who has studied marketing and who has expertise in the category. You need to look for excellence. You need to aspire the 5%. You need to, in terms of customer understanding, you need to really want to understand the truth. And that also relates to the vendor you hire. It's not enough to hire a vendor who does state of the art. Okay, he can do conjoint. Everyone is doing conjoint. What everyone is doing is probably the wrong thing.
True.
Yeah. So this needs to be clear that there is no good standard. And if you do the good standard, then you grow. No, you only grow if you do exceptional work.
So what you're trying to tell me is exceptional work. So it's not about the statistical hire. It's about the most strategic hire, which you need to bring in. Something that is different, something that others are not indulging into. Is that where we're going right now?
Yeah, we need to understand that as a humankind and as an industry and everywhere, we are on a progress. We are on a journey of understanding the truth, right? So we are never fully understand our world. That even is new to most people, but realizing that we need to learn a lot. And if you are ahead of this curve, you are crushing it. Yeah. So, and that's the illusion where most people sit in, is that, okay, we do research, we do market research, so we know why customers buy. No, typically research is mostly so much biased that it doesn't translate into, impactful marketing.
So would you say, on that next question is actually, I'm kind of focused on that. Would you say market research is actually throttling or kind of pulling down some of the decisions being taken up by many businesses? Is it kind of curtailing the businesses because they're kind of scared of what's coming out of the research? Or is it kind of pushing it forward? What is your opinion about it?
I mean, market research is basically kind of a product of limited thinking in marketing, because nobody in marketing is requiring deeper research. Nobody is offering it. So, but if you are following the findings of neuroscience of the past decades, you will find that buying decisions are subconscious decisions. So already in the 80s, Benjamin Livett proved that a second and latest research found that up to 10 seconds before a human realize or believe he decides, he already have decided. So if this is true, we cannot ask people, why did you buy? Or what do you believe? Or whatever, what do you what's your opinion? Opinion, let me put it in a harsh word, opinions don't matter. So, but this is where the whole industry is built on. It's measuring the opinions, and most researchers are not even marketeers. They are opinion gatherer. But that's irrelevant. Relevant is understanding the implicit processes in human brains that drive decisions. And that's what 95% of researchers and vendors not doing today.
Mm-hmm. So they're more focused on a rigid way rather than the sensitive way of understanding psychology, understanding the behavior, understanding more in-depth kind of positioning of a human mind.
Yeah, and there are certain beliefs they carry on, which makes them hard to do good work. So, for instance, everyone in marketing believes AIDA: attention, desire, interest, action.
Mm-hmm.
That's even an unconscious belief of marketeers, that of course we need to create attention and only then we can tell the message, right? And everyone wants to create attention. Big fire, big boom, and then the consumer watches and I can tell him. But research shows that's not how it works. You can create attention, of course,
Mm-hmm.
but this typically creates annoying. Yeah. So it does not require attention to convince a person. So
Right.
that's all proven. Yeah. So the mere exposure effect in neuroscience is already 50 years old. And it showed that subconscious just exposure of brands makes them more likely the brand will be bought, even though the respondent will tell you, I have never seen this brand.
It's true. That's true. You know, this is a good, but I'll give you a very childish example. Sunday, I went out for an ice cream. This place had at least about 25 different choices of ice creams. Now, was it easy for me to decide what I wanted? No. I hate too many choices. As a human, I hate too many choices because it confuses me. So whether the decision was the decision that I took the ice cream, of course, I took 2 scoops, which was much easier to kind of make my how can I say desires be fulfilled. But if I was to did I look at the color of the ice cream? Did I look at the flavor of the ice cream? Did I look at how much ice cream was lying in that bowl? That means how much has been consumed, how much is not. My decision was more based on which was consumed the most, because my belief was if this has been consumed the most, that means this is a very successful ice cream. Now, my mind worked in that direction. Now, it's just an interesting thought. It's a very kiddish, but an interesting thought. My mind worked towards that end of the story, not towards asking him what was the most popular ice cream, and it's an Italian, gelato. I mean, it's an Italian one, so I know every ice cream would be good, but I particularly picked up the one which was more empty. Now, that was a thought process. Why? It came up to me. Why did I do that? Why didn't I go on my favorite flavor? Why did I go on the color? But, how the mindset changes is something very supreme to the consumer today, for sure.
Absolutely. I also have an ice cream story, but it just tells us how much subconscious all those processes are. And basically, that's where we ask ourselves, okay, how can we provide a better customer understanding if we comply to the neuroscience findings of the last decades?
Right.
And the answer was basically we need to do 3 things different. First, we want to do qualitative research, but implicitly. It's produces biases if we just do simple interviews, because people are finding reasons for any question. So either you do really deep psychology interviews, 2 hours or so, which is costly, or we developed a new method which basically calms the mind of the people, and we ask projective questions, and that's a method we presented at ESOMAR last year. But that's first stage, implicit qualitative research, because with that you can really see what do we missing today, what are experts missing today. And if we go into quantitative research, research should be implicit focus, meaning we use implicitization test, for instance, to really measure what's the intuition already knows of customers. So we measure the target variable as well as the perception and the drivers implicitly. But that's even not enough, because we just measure associations of that customers have. But what we want to know is what is causing the decision.
Yes.
So, and I cannot ask a person why, because he doesn't know. His
Exactly.
awareness doesn't know. And that's in statistics, it's called causal inference. Yeah. And causal inference in a setting where a lot of things are unknown and highly complex, it requires causal AI. And that's what we deploy. With this causal AI, then suddenly you find the causal mechanics that drives the decisions. Yeah. So with these three building blocks, we built this deep implicit framework. With that, we better understand why people buy.
Great. And that is one thing which you and I are collaborating on together, looking at the opportunities of helping companies, helping businesses understand the in-depth situation rather than the bookish, the top-notch situation. We are getting into the depth of it, trying to understand the psychology. Now, that's interesting. Now, coming to the last question, which is for part one, which I want to cover as well in this particular episode, is what would you put that one statement saying, what is it that the top 5% are doing more accurately and the 95% are missing? What would that one lesson be for the people to understand?
So I think the key thing is the excellence mindset. Yeah. So really heading for exceptional customer understanding. And the customer understanding is the key before creating a product, a strategy, and even implementing it. It's like a house of cards. If the foundation is sand, it will break down. So that's good news. Customer understanding is really the key. But if this key is basically not very good, it doesn't lead to success. And the other interesting finding in our research is that the success chain of success is kind of a link. Yeah, it's a bottleneck. So you need to have a good price, a good product, a good packaging, a good creative, a good distribution, and none of them should be bad. Yeah, if one of them is bad, there's no success. Yeah, so really with this bottleneck and this excellence mindset, you are in a very good way to achieve growth sustainably.
Excellent. Well, that's interesting to know. Fortunately, we have a part two coming up and we will carry on with our conversations. But I'd like to thank you for the part one. I mean, covering up these topics was essential. Again, collaborating together as one business and trying to create more awareness for growing businesses, for existing businesses, due diligence, what's happening in businesses today. Why aren't we moving from X to Y? How can we help move this? This is another chapter which we have to discuss in the future. So thank you, Frank, for being on this call, and we will cover up the next part very soon. Thank you.